timer. What I changed the timer now? It doesn't say 59 anymore. Okay, that's the first thing to output timer. No, scripts. Yeah, uh, timer. Yeah, and it shouldn't be 300, or I think it's like, yeah, 3 1 5 6 5 9 9 59. Yeah, okay, there we go. Uh, Also, is the volume okay? Yeah, it's fine. It is fine. I can close this. Yeah. What? Ah, yeah. I have unavoidably. I have to try and disconnect the mouse. I think I don't remember why, but I'm sure I did something like that before. I was trying to think about it. I don't know. I have like horrible memory, so it's sort of impossible for me to properly remember. Anyway, green screen, yeah. I can close this today. That's changed. Uh, Browse. Let me choose an image. How many images do I have? Even that are not like literally repeated. This one. Let me make it weird. Okay. Okay. Everything is done. No. Not everything, not everything. Not actually everything. We are not so back yet, Umfi. Don't believe in us. Because reality is a lie. No. No. Let me. This. I also have to open this. And I still need to, like, properly organize myself around here. Why is it so hard always? Why don't we just live in a fantasy where you don't have to do things, you just think about them? Anyway, let's. Let me mute this guy. Mute, yeah, thank you. That's done, supposedly. Also, this is lying now? You can't. Why? You literally can't hear that? Wow. Mm, okay. What's up? Now it's everything on its place, I think. I should probably do something like to do it manually. Not manually, this is also manual. A hotkey to transition from scene to scene. Probably. I don't know when, but it will be a good idea. Anyway, good good evening, good morning. It's nice to be back, I guess. It's good to be around. It has been a long time since the last occasion that we were here, so yeah, welcome. Uh, Today is Sunday. Yeah, today is Sunday. I should have created a schedule for tomorrow. I haven't. I was okay. I think that's the best thing I can say about that. I think I can properly create another schedule, like two schedules in a row. We are so back, man. Finally, what's the song? Finally, things start going my way, or something like that. Yeah. uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. Here we are. I guess I cannot really complain about just having already the opportunity of being here. So that's good enough. We we had today to be here, so that's I guess positive. I don't know. It's complicated. We don't really talk about how much we should or not appreciate everything that we get to go through. So who knows? Maybe it isn't the most important thing. Maybe it since it is something that we can actually choose and it is something that we actually get to do because we want it. It's a lot more valuable than what we can realize at a first glance. Who knows? I don't know. It's I guess it's the complications of having that sort of honesty to admit if what you are doing is because you want to do it, because you have another kind of justification or hidden motive, so to speak, to do it and whatnot. It's good to do anything. That's the real point. It's good to do anything, and being here today is something already compared to non-existence, which will be inaction. Today, this all of this already is wonderful. So yeah, good evening once again. Uh, I don't know. I don't really have anything in that sense in particular to say. It's just another Sunday. I was okay. I can say this. I was trying to kind of get something from the realms of yeah, maybe we can try to do I don't know reaction or something like that. But you know what? I will rather pass on that offer at least today. I guess in the future it will be a good idea. Probably. I don't feel like it's not that it's not time. I don't want to, but I don't actually feel like doing that. So yeah, it will be a lie, you know. It will be a lie to say, yeah, you know what, today we're going to react to something. No, it's passions. You know what those things are. That inner strength that you feel towards stuff, being able of following what you actually feel you should be doing is what matters. And in that sense, yeah, things like this one are good enough. I don't know. I was trying to earlier to articulate all of those ideas. I think it's complicated. I can't still properly explain what we are doing here in a sense. I know that we get to be around, we get to say stuff, we get to discuss things, and all of that happens, yeah. But there is another part to all of that that we are sort of not naming, I guess. It's that this isn't really professional. This is not a place in which we all agree that we're experts on the topic. It's that degree of I don't know if the proper word is comfort. It's just easiness of knowing that yeah, there is not a harsh. I wouldn't say judgment. It's not about oh no. I don't want to be such. It's more along the lines of it is more possible to simply admit that what is being stated is wrong and what is being proposed might be bad in a sense that makes it a lot easier to speak. I guess I don't know. I think in that sense, yeah, it might as well fall under the category of judgment or whatever. But I am pretty sure anybody who has to some degree issues with being able of expressing themselves has to go through a lot of I wouldn't know if the proper word is censoring of, yeah, I have things that I would like to mention, point out, or be capable of addressing, but I can't. If I make something bad enough, it won't be a good consequence to get called out. Getting called out and by mistakes might as well mean that, I don't know, the whole stability of my life is now being questioned or is now being shaken up. I don't get to have such an stable life if I commit a mistake in other departments. That part of being an adult, in which you commit yourself to decisions and whatnot, of oh yeah, I will choose to go through this career path and whatnot in those environments. in which you get to earn your living, so to speak, you can't say wrong stuff. You shouldn't try to say something that would unavoidably have you losing everything. It's not a nice idea to do something like that. It's incredibly negligent out of anyone to treat what they should always try to have in their hands as a lot less serious concept. And unavoidably, yeah, in those areas, we see it as a necessity. We don't actually talk that much about anything in the sense of, yeah, you know, it's maybe even if we have certain norms, we can try to point them out or whatever, or we have certain traditions and I can't follow them, all of that stuff. And not questioning, I guess, yeah, it's that whole idea of questioning the authority or going against the authority. That's a more proper name for all of that. It's true that not having to be so worried about all of that makes this better. But I don't know. It's not particularly that. It's more along the lines of, yeah, the comfort of knowing that being wrong is a possibility that can also be embraced. I guess it's not the same as, oh yeah, yeah, there is a big brother or anything like that that will harshly punish me if I say something wrong or if I mention something that I shouldn't. I don't know. Not that sort of, yeah, authority is more along the lines of I guess a different type of authority. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's just what I'm trying to say. That here we are and we are fine, so that's good. We are good. That's enough. That's sufficient for me, I guess. But yeah, I guess here we are. That's the whole point. Here we are. And now because we get to be here, it's wonderful. It's, I guess, I don't know, repeating it enough times until it becomes a conscious realization that, yeah, indeed, we are here. It's not, I don't know, I just follow the waves of life and I end up in the same place, routinarily doing things that I don't ever wonder about, that don't bring me any kind of joy or anything. I get to be where I feel like I should be doing the things that I say I want to do, surrounded with the ideas that I say I am interested in thinking about. All of that stuff is what I'm trying to say. I guess without directly mentioning it, probably I know I sort of, I wouldn't say fail, but unavoidably go way too much for that route of, yeah, yeah. It's a hinted idea that is not directly addressed. Sorry, I I guess it was one of those many readings that one goes through that ends up sticking with them. Like trying to mention something with as many ways as you can, or with as many methods as you can without directly mentioning it, so that the hinting at the ideas themselves leaves for more opportunities of I guess, growth or something like that on the subject who is interested in ever picking up the text that is being given, because the assumption is not something so specific as the named idea itself. It's more of a freer way of building connections because you have to start assuming stuff and you have to involve yourself in the process of thinking about what is being said. All of that is better, I guess, and all of that is complex to see. So that's also why, even if I feel like unavoidably it is tiresome, I know I have already found quite a lot of people who talk like that. It's not that there is no one out there, but yeah, the people who do that are a few, and unavoidably those who do it are tiresome to hear. It's it's incredibly annoying to hear somebody who doesn't directly say things when you have the possibility of mentioning them and giving them a proper name and a proper sign, something to refer yourself to, word, put it into words. That whole idea, it's being what we are not looking for here, is, I guess, annoying. Even more, I don't know, as an internal reflection, I guess, whether even more as somebody who says that has any kind of interest in semiotics, I guess that's pretty much a mistake. But anyway. the point itself is weird to hear. That's well enough already. But yeah, I don't know. I have to be real. I wanted to continue or to finally start. Not even continue. I didn't even start on that yesterday or Friday. The last time I was here in Singularity. That's when I was trying to think out this thing. I couldn't properly get to it. I think it's a complex matter to be capable of directly mentioning what we want in some cases because you have to force the idea to come out way too much, and in some cases it's not a necessity. So yeah, it's better to end up in a day like this one in which we have, I don't know, free time, so to speak, in which anything can be said. So that's already a lot better of a choice to take or to make and to go towards than to just not say what you want at all. To abandon something that you say you care about is unavoidably worse than, even if later in I guess in the timeline of existence you get to bring it up to even if it is to a lesser degree, I guess, as long as you get to say it, it's good enough. Being capable of, I wouldn't say taking responsibility, but rather possessing the awareness to realize that, yeah, what you consider worth saying should also be something that you should see as worth hearing from others, even if in itself it might not be in the moment well received. You have the possibility to at least try to say it. Doesn't matter how much the outside might react to it. It's more of a, okay, do I properly understand that I can say stuff? Do I understand that, I don't know, I have some voice, I have some possibility of explaining myself or uh, naming things that I want to talk about. Can I realize that I have that possibility? And yeah, it's the same thing here, I guess. The difference being that I guess that's the norm. I always talk about stuff that I like, so it's just one amongst the many things that I have had. Uh, what's I've had I have had in my mind rolling around since a while ago. Let's say like that. Yeah, that's that's the image that I was trying to go for. Something that I had in the back burner, I think you can say, cooking for quite a while. But I don't know. It's complicated because you need to properly sit down to think out some stuff to be capable of expressing it. And yeah, it's not an easy task in if you are not really interested in saying anything out. Those possible ideas. Let's begin with that. I guess there is a category of things that we might ignore, require a proper expression to be understood at all. So yeah, it's in that whole realm, I guess. And also in some case, even more it is, I feel like I can say something. Do I understand what I will say? Do I even possess a proper enough notion of which point am I trying to make when I am saying something? That whole realm of, yeah. Basically, you need to sit down and think out your words before you say them. Not in the sense of, wow, yeah, you have to prepare your speech, but rather you have to understand. There is something, I don't know, in psychology itself is the concept of there is a problem that I have that I am starting to feel. I don't even understand what the problem is. Okay, what I do is I try to sit down and understand, absorb from my own self, my own perceptions and my own feelings where it is being created. And after that, I start to treat it in any way and allow myself to heal. Otherwise, it never gets to disappear from my existence. It's the always present issue that I can't even name because I haven't tried to picture it in any other manner. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. But yeah, not exactly with all of that drama, I guess. Not, it's not something that I have been trying to say as, wow, the most worrisome thing that I have been thinking about. I guess it's just notes. What's highlight? No, not even a notification. It's just yeah, a tiny tiny update. No, just an observation. Yeah, that's the word. An observation about something that has been happening more and more repeatedly recently. No, not truly recently, as in, oh, wow, yeah, since the last week, but rather since probably, I can't even trying to think about it. The idea itself is what was the title of yesterday and today? AI, artificial intelligence, and whatnot. I never stopped to think about how present all of that has become, and I never even less were capable of realizing, associating, and properly naming stuff like, oh yeah, um, uh, the algorithm and the way in which YouTube throws results at you. That was like the boom of the first sort of discussion of all of that in, I think that happened in 2015 or something like that. That's when I started to hear about it. The stuff like ads and those sorts of also algorithms that try to predict your behavior and to pitch to you stuff that you will utilize, and all of those other things that exist since quite a long time ago. Those all of those many experiments that you can publicly find in internet of, I I record my PC while I talk about, I don't know, dog food for 5 minutes. Then I go and refresh Amazon to see what it ends up recommending to me, and seeing how that has always been present since, not particularly in Amazon. That's is the normal thing in any kind of social media with targeted ads, that they started to exist since like 2012 or so. They're incredibly old. To some degree, they're incredibly old. Despite the technology not being the most finished, they're unavoidably old. And all of those things, basically everything that has also been a sort of precursor of AI, those things, and unavoidably even more in the present day, how now as a proper classification, yeah, everything that is created through chatbots, text inputs, prompts, and whatever else, that you can point at and say, okay, this thing is particularly being influenced by AI. I don't know, they are using images or they are using a narrator and all of those things. And they are writing their script, or they are using music, or they are editing, or whatever it is being performed through AI. All of those things have been present. I think the proper notion of AI is quite recent, but the more I try to look back at it, I think it has already started to creep in more than what we can recognize. I want to say, I think it exists since almost a decade ago or so. All of this stuff like predictive search or whatever it is that they use to show you what you might be trying to look for on internet before you even finish writing your search query. All of that stuff has been present since all the days of internet at this point. Not like, wow, yeah, since 1999, but at least since the mid 2010s or so. It's something that has existed, and it's something that has been around. And I don't know. I cannot really say. I feel like we are losing the battle. I never. It's a complicated stuff. I think. I don't like the discussion from the point of view of, oh yeah, AI is going to kill all of us or anything like that. I think it's overly naive to say, yeah, we are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence so rapidly. I guess if it happens, I'm pretty sure it will happen in at least 30, 40 years or so. I don't think that we are capable of adapting or being overwhelmed by outer technology that fast. We don't have that capacity ourselves. We are good at creating things, but we can't actually make something that good, at least right now. And AI I don't know, there is a certain proposition if you try to watch stuff related to how artificial intelligence in general works, you can see things like, oh yeah, yeah, and there is this thing that makes AI become a danger because it starts to self evolve or self sustain its own newer iterations and new generations of AI and whatnot that makes the whole thing be faster and better in less time, supposedly, but that's assuming that we are capable of creating good enough code. And I think it's incredibly naive to say that, yeah, we are in the era in which we understand the coding to make it, to be capable of teaching it to an external intelligence so that it can absorb how to always optimally code and be capable of, therefore, altering all of its already existing code and even more creating and altering things that were not there before in order to make it even better and more functional and whatnot. It's highly improbable, impossible in many ways. I think it's unrealistic to say, yeah, yeah, AI is going to start self-sustaining and self driving itself towards the pinnacle of evolution in the next 3 years. It might happen, I guess. I don't think it will not happen, but I think it shall take quite a lot of time. And in quite a long time, once again, I think, I don't know, 10, 20 years? Like by 2030, 2040, we will be having issues with all of that, but that's a long time ago. In 5 years, the probability of dying is quite high, I guess. The probability of any other issue occurring before that is quite intense. So yeah, that's why I don't know. That's my only the only thing that I always think about when they say, oh yeah, yeah, AI being the most normal thing and the most integrated thing to our existence and whatnot. But I don't know, man. I think it's complicated. We don't really have even the possibility of properly talking about all of that. I let me yeah, let me drink something. I remember trying to talk out this with my family, and there was something that happened in there. Um, we were trying to talk about how AI as a thing, as a proper, what I was saying before, a proper classification of this thing belongs to artificial intelligence in any way. That thing does not happen so naturally or gets to be such a normal thing, such an easily observable thing, I guess. And the issue is, I find it that indeed it exists more than what in many cases we can properly point at. It's not a good thing to say, oh yeah, I have, I don't know, this particular taste of mine is being influenced by AI. And even more, you have to be willfully training yourself to be good at recognizing what might be artificially created, which not everyone is interested in doing. So there is a high margin of people that might be already consuming things created by AI while they don't, well, they never stopped to try and think about it from that perspective of, okay, what I am doing is actually a consequence, or what I am consuming is actually a consequence of artificial intelligence trying to integrate itself with the rest of the world more. It's it's a not so easy to have discussion. It's a good hypothetical to say, oh yeah, yeah. Supposedly, all of us don't have that much AI integrated in our own life. But I remember a proper point that I heard was, okay, I know that what I have, I can still recognize it in my own hands. I can be aware if what I am directly consuming is not AI driven, but I will never know if most of the other creations don't have in one or two steps up the creative process, up the chain of command, so to speak, or in the same but different terms. Somewhere along the lines, there is an AI making decisions that alter the final product that you receive. Let's say like this. It's a long concept, but it's a useful one. It's like, okay, you can recognize a completely AI produced, I don't know, supermarket item based solely on the packaging being different that from a normal handmade one or yeah, more human made one, basically. And it shows in many of the different things that you get to observe. In a general sense, you get to realize that there is an artificial intelligence influencing the final product, sorry. But what you don't get to notice, what nobody can properly notice, is even if that thing in itself is natural, is human made, is created by a proper person, if the whole environment in which it is circulating doesn't have AI in a way in which it is affecting the final thing, like for example, you don't know if the product that you are buying, which supposedly is human made, doesn't have its cost, for example, artificially increased, not because the person itself is saying, oh, wow, yeah, let's ask an AI which one is the best price that I should utilize. No, it's something more along the lines of I live in a market in which everybody for some reason has, I don't know, $3.99 as their price. So I will have mine also at $3.99. Why? I can't explain to you why. But if you get to properly know all the other correlations, you see that every other competitor in the market makes the assumption, because they are machines, that, oh, yeah, 3.99 is a rational decision because it takes into account all of our consumers and all of the things that we want to take for the intention of buying and increasing our sales. Therefore, by having 3.99, we get to have the best price that everybody can afford, with also the psychological positive effect of not being a round price, but rather what can be taken as an impression of a discounted one. All of that elaboration that only either a highly trained professional, which at this time in the scale of things has already been removed, because if AI was useful for something, was for replacing the people who cost way too much to sustain, even if their positions are good. You can train an AI for long enough, like 6 months, with data and make it a good, I don't know, price analyst, for example. All of that stuff that gets to happen due to those things ultimately alters the final result of, yeah, and the local source market buyer that you are buying your things from ended up, without them even maybe realizing, taking a decision based on this same line of AI in some point. Not because they actually wanted to, but simply because everyone else is doing the same thing. So they just go with the flow, and you can try to ask, can they actually give you a proper reason as to why they do that? No. Something that's also, yeah, that's the issue with all of this stuff. You say, yeah, I can still try to ask the person. We are supposing that they are going to tell you the right thing. They are going to tell you, yeah, I don't know. Everybody seems to have the same price. So I just literally copied the price because it was a good price also for me. No, they are not going to tell you that. They are not obliged to tell you that. If they get to look better by saying, oh yeah, in this competitive market, I was making a decision based on what all my other competitors were doing as a reference. Therefore, my decision based on the influence only of my own production led me to the conclusion that unavoidably equaling the offer that everyone else also has would make me stand out more. Therefore, I would get to be the winner in this particular capitalist environment in which the same price for everyone is what allows me now to thrive within the market. No, they are unavoidably going to tell you something like that. That's I guess that's why it's necessary, useful, important to learn out that side of human psychology of yeah. I can rationalize my decisions a lot more than what I can actually be capable of observing them and stating rules their actual taking as in oh yeah. I can accept easily that out of nowhere, for no given reason, I decided to just copy everyone else. Why? Because that's easier? No, I don't have to tell you that. I can make it sound a lot more pompous, a lot more fragrant, more beautiful, more enticing to you, more appealing to you by overcomplicating it. I can, to some degree, tell you the same thing with 100 other words in the middle. I can also be honest, supposedly, while also adding other things that might be true, like, oh, yeah. I am supposedly a good seller, and I am supposedly basing myself off on what is a good price. I don't know why it is a good price, but I can say it is a good price. But I love to just informing decisions upon my final decisions or informing ideas upon my final decision that I can't never name, that nobody can never name, is what is so troublesome, I guess. I don't know how much of the things that I have around me are already being, in that sense, affected by AI. I think unavoidably, I guess it's a dangerous statement. This one is, I guess, a proper dangerous statement. So I guess I don't know. Give me a second. Let me drink something also meanwhile. Okay, it's not dangerous because it can harm someone or something. The reality is it's a dangerous statement if it were to be true. If it were to be something real, the reality is it would unavoidably be bad to accept that maybe nowadays we already have, I don't know, I think a proper percentage would be something around 80% of what gets to happen in the internet sphere being affected by AI, being in any of the three ascending, yeah, ascending chains of influence, unavoidably you can find in 80% of the cases some degree of presence of artificial intelligence altering the final decision itself, even if it is in just one particular way. 80% of the general decisions taken by any human nowadays, within the internet sphere at the very least, or within those who get to have access to media of any sort, are being altered at some level of the chain of command, let's say, or yeah, chain of influence, basically, or within the first three initial stages of the chain of influence by artificial intelligence. And I think that's the issue. That, yeah, we have, I don't know, I cannot say we have lost. I think if you say we have lost 80% of our proper land, we only have a 20% which is still completely unaffected by what I end up doing in my life, what I end up choosing in my life. Even if I say that I have a 20%, it doesn't mean that it is the best 20%. I don't know. Influential decisions. Now that I tried to just to make an example, but the reality is, yeah, that has been the norm since a long while ago. Artificial intelligence was one of the best selling ideas for any type of investor because it gets to promise you that you can train somebody who will be the best trader in X amount of time compared to a human that might as well take 30 times longer than what an average AI can take to be a good dealer in that one field. So yeah, I don't know. I think to some degree it's good, to some other it's not truly all that fulfilling. It's not truly all that interesting to declare that yeah, we are losing compared to that. It's more like we are slowly just integrating with that. I guess yeah. Because I don't think the general public sees AI as a sort of yeah public benefit of sorts in which all of us get to gain something because we have once again this thing, this tool altering the way in which we get to feel about other stuff or we get to deal with other parts of life. No, what happens is just we normalize having to some degree influence of that, and that's it. That's the most basic level of that, but it never becomes okay. Is it actually, for example, there is a wonderful idea of you should try to have a second consciousness, not because you should try to recreate yourself within other thing, but rather because you should be capable of not utilizing so much of your actual mind in things that you should not be worrying about. Like, for example, delegating tasks is one of the major ideas for why AI itself is such a tempting concept, and that is something that has slowly been happening. Any kind of introduction of advancements of technology has allowed us to slowly arrive to better evolutions of any kind of technology in itself that allows the human to be less involved in the things that are annoying in life and rather that can get to be automated because in actuality many of the aspects that we see have now finally been understood as more e- more easily simplifiable in itself tasks that can then be taken in any other direction. That's why, in the end, we end up feeling a lot better if we can properly uh, thus try to use AI for those things. Now, can we recognize it as that? Can we take it from that perspective, or it is just oh yeah, I don't know. I have AI as an influence for when I have an annoying task to do that I don't want to do, but I know I can delegate to AI. Is it that sort of of assumption of yeah of needed existence? I don't think so. I don't think we talk about AI as something nice. I think that's one of the many things that I don't like. I remember lately having heard about something from oh yeah one of the possible best best worst cases that could happen from AI is finally in here 5 years from now AI finally takes over. It is evolving so rapidly that in 5 years it will supposedly get to be so much better than what it is already right now that it will be capable of at that point already start to overwhelming humans in order to make itself be the final evolution of what humans have created. And maybe after AI something else gets to come, but AI is what ends at least the human existence. Maybe. But we are not capable of saying that. And the reality is also much of that issue does not happen because AI is something that cannot live in accordance with humans. The issue is we have created something that we never tried to stop and understand. I think it's the general philosophical statement of, oh yeah, we are the creators of something that we cannot harness. We are the destroyers of our own existence because we have become too arrogant to understand that we needed to harness this power before bringing it fully onto reality. Sort of like that, yeah. It is a cliche of an statement, but it is in itself the reality of the thing We should be capable of talking out AI. We should be capable of saying things out there, pointing at AI and utilizing it in any way which it might be a positive thing to do. It should not be how we talk about it right now, the norm. How we see it and how we go about it in terms of you have AI. And AI is just a thing that you can try to have or you can try to avoid. Maybe you can at any level now avoid it. Maybe that's the issue. We don't understand. Even old people are being influenced by AI right now. Not, oh wow, yeah, 1 week from now. No, 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 no. If they live in society, in the current society, if they consume any kind of media, they are already being influenced by AI. Even if they themselves cannot realize it, once again, there are levels of influence going through almost all the aspects of existence, such that now unavoidably we have to say, yeah, the human is, that's the issue, not losing 80% of its ground to AI. It's just given 80% of the ground of what it already had as parts of its own existence, of its own tedious existence to AI, in order to make it a more easily performable part of their own existence themselves. The issue was never acknowledging that when it was happening, and now trying to do so in a way in which it doesn't hurt so much, because unavoidably it is not only being 80% and staying static at that point, but it is every single day growing even more and becoming an even more integral part of our particular existence. That's the issue, I guess. And I don't know. I think it's a complete bigger issue in general, but it's not something that we try to talk about at all. It's not something that you see anybody trying to properly figure out. I have heard, I guess, at this point probably a dozen hours or so of people who have been experts in the field give their point of view on what is going to happen, what is going to be, what are the consequences, what are the probable causes, the probable things, and all of that sort of stuff. But we don't have a proper grasp of it in a way in which it feels good. We are still in a basic conception of yeah, it has come. We were too late to properly make it work for us. Now it's going to kill us, all humans. I think it's that side of pessimism that gets to exist within all of us. That same thing happened here, and now AI became too much of a powerful thing, not because it is in itself powerful, but rather because we never understood how much power we had in our own hands before all of that. I guess that's the proper way of saying it. But yeah, I even then I feel happy. I guess I don't say it in a way of, oh wow, yeah, yeah, it's so annoying. We have so much AI. I guess I don't know. I have to be honest. Let me read something. Let me read something, and after that I will say that. It has been around for such a long while that I personally at least I have got to hear a lot of ideas, opinions on all of that, and many statements that I resonate with. It's a tool. At the end of the day, it's just another tool that we needed to learn to utilize. It's not something inherently bad. It can be used unavoidably for bad purposes, like on most things. Actually, it's a negligent thing to say. Yeah, you know what? We should prohibit AI from now on. It's it's indeed counterproductive to do so. Even particularly right now, after having it become such an integral part of many humans' lives' existence. But in general, it is something that can be beneficial if it is handled with responsibility, I guess. But it is still something that needs to be more properly understood. In many other cases, we don't know if AI can properly be utilized to modify many other aspects of life. We don't, I think so far we can't really utilize AI to get breakthroughs in most of science, in most of the departments of the natural sciences that we have always fought in or fought our way through the different concepts and the different unknown fields and all of that. At best, I think so far AI has been a good implementation for things like basic mathematics and such, but we are still incapable of solving many other issues of a deeper level and being more so capable of creating solutions not only that work but that are correct in the way in which they work, or that are approaching the issue from the correct point of view. Let's say we it's this idea of, I don't know, we you can say, or not you can say, you can get to heal yourself from either staying in your bed after you get a fever or going out for a run, even if the normal person wouldn't do it. And you can get healthy after going for a run all days of the week for a whole week, and after that you will get healthy, and you will say, okay, it was because I went out to take a run. No, maybe it was because it took a whole week, even because you needed to actually take it easy, and only half of the time you were taking it easy. So actually, you only got 3 or even less days to rest, and meanwhile, it was still being triggered your fever, and it was still taking effects, taking a toll on your body. The same thing with AI. Maybe it can propose a logical explanation for stuff are plausible enough, but maybe it is not the correct one. Even if it is a sound idea, it is not the correct idea, and that's what is such an issue. But in itself, it's meaningless to completely go against AI. I don't know. I don't think it's a debate at this point. That yeah, to some point, it's good to have it. To some point, unavoidably, more control upon all of that stuff is necessary. Having it scrape the whole of the internet is an incredibly dangerous idea. It's an incredibly bad idea. It you never know if it might not even malfunction in some way and start gathering information in the wrong manner and start creating false information. And because you are trusting everything that it is doing, you never realize that indeed it failed at something in its way, and it ended up giving you a wrong conclusion. All of that stuff is what makes in itself artificial intelligence risky. But I don't know, it's from the other side, yeah. I look forward to it, but I think it's a complicated matter in itself. I don't know already how much of my whole life. That's the point that I was trying to make. Personally, at least I can say personally, I don't know how much of my own life is being influenced by that, and I am not even realizing about it. I don't know if I don't know, around my whole city, things of that sort are changing things. You see, stuff like this fucking garbage is what I am trying to talk out. Even in places like this, you don't have to take them as AI, you don't have to take them as something that highly influential, but even fucking shit like, oh yeah, about coming and saying, yeah, best viewers on X platform. That is another form of influence. That all of those things are still bots, machines working for us. All of that stuff is incredibly crucial to realizing that indeed we have a lot more things existing around us that are influenced by AI than what we can actually name, consciously observe and say, yeah, this is indeed something that was not created by me, but rather by an AI. And I don't know, it's not in itself something bad. Take proper ideas not in itself something bad, but it is annoying to have to deal with that in a way in which it doesn't feel like, yeah, we are ignoring an issue. I guess the reality is, yeah, I don't know. Let me try to find a way to say it. Maybe I'll also drink something else. Let me let me propose it like this. I remember having heard about how AI came to be so normal a while ago. A good conception of it was basically what happened was we never realized AI was starting to be so influential on us at a first glance. What happens was once there was an outbreak, AI was always a contained thing within a particular scientific context, but once one of the many AIs that were being developed broke through internet, it became an issue that was impossible to directly address. This thing of, I don't know how we discovered penicillin, I think you say it, and how we got to find many things by accident. Okay, we got to see that AI could gain many more benefits from being on internet by accident. We didn't properly get to have AI be slowly, consciously introduced to internet. It rather happened out of nowhere, and it rather happened in a way in which all of us thought was normal without ever realizing was that it was not actually a deliberate thing performed by someone, but rather I think that just got to be as a mistake or as an error of someone else. Like, I don't know, the guy who was trying to make sure that the AI never got to internet, to the open internet, one day forgot their PC open, and after that it was that AI finally got to break through the filter. But I mean, it's the basic idea. Stuff like how, in itself, AI, even if it knows that it has filters, it can always keep testing to surpass them, and even if it leaks once, it is already a leak. So all of that stuff was what got AI to become such a early concept. I think we always talked as a concept about AI, but we never expected it to be such a normal or such a real thing at this time. If you ask somebody 20 years ago, they will not answer, yeah, AI, robots, and all of that will be the norm today as it is now. Chatbots will be plaguing our existence. We will have so many machines talking with humans and establishing those relationships that humans got to have before in a human to human yeah, in a human to human basis. Now human to machine basis. So it is because of that that AI is now popular, and it is because of that sort of error that now we are talking about it, and now we are observing it, and now we are pointing our fingers at it, and it's not exactly in itself something wrong. It is just you know it takes more courage or more will. It's more accountability than what anybody can have to say, yeah, we are sorry. It leaked, and it is starting to affect everyone more than what we are looking for. I think, I don't know, I haven't. While I was saying that, I was trying to remember. I think the last time something of that sort happened was in like 2015 or so. I don't want even to say exactly where, because I don't want to remember if it was in either in the Western or Eastern cultures, one of the biggest countries, let's say, to not make it so political. It was just one of the biggest countries was found out digging through way too much information about everyone. And once they got caught doing that, it was that they had to say, sorry, we were doing it through internet. That sort of stuff. That sort of same mistake happened with AI. Once AI was finally found out doing things that it shouldn't have, in this case, it didn't got to be, we are sorry that it happened. It is, yeah, you know what? AI is finally open for everyone. Let's all of us have access to ChatGPT and whatever we want. And I don't know, I understand it. The idea of I think anybody who gets to understand the concept of investors understand the idea. Yeah, you can't say that you fucked up. You cannot lose 5% of your stock market value in one day just because you have to admit that you did something wrong. Once not only your life is on the line, but or not only your money is on the line, it becomes not such a possibility for you to admit that you were wrong, basically, and that's the issue here. That's the issue with many of these things. I think so. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think it's still even if it is because of something like that that we had to have it initially, even if it is something of that sort that happened ended that led us to this point in which now everyone nowadays 2025 everyone can access AI. Anyone who has access to internet can utilize it. Even then, it doesn't truly mean that we are condemned. It just means that we are in an early stage, or in an even earlier stage than what we can actually recognize in other cases, because unavoidably this is still incredibly faulty. I mean, that's the fun of it. I think so. That anybody who tries to understand AI, anybody who tries to get around and see, grasp the idea and whatnot, sees, finds out, and can properly point at the reality of, and yeah, luckily enough, this thing is not so good. This thing can actually have 1,000 more mistakes than what we can actually say, than what we could actually say before. This thing is not as good as we thought it was. This thing is not as beneficial as we thought it was. This creation of ours is not as powerful as we thought it was, or correct, accurate as we thought it was. That's why I think it's good that we can be wrong about it and that we can have it do or commit mistakes in any way. That's I guess the beginning of all of that. But let me drink something, and after that I will say the other thing. Yeah, I was, I guess, in that whole method of saying something just to say, I don't think so. I don't really think it happened like that. I think it was a deliberate choice to get AI to exist right now. Maybe, I guess the reality is they didn't expect it to be so bad at so many works. That whole idea of how a tester makes so many other scenarios that they, or not a tester, a client can make so many other scenarios than what the testers themselves could never have been capable of coming up with. That sort of stuff is what happened. But sadly, AI was something highly thought about and highly measured before it was released to the public, and before it was at all utilized, or it was uh, opened up for anyone to use, for anyone who is willing to find out and to have in their hands. All of that stuff works in that way, and I don't think it's directly bad, but it's unavoidably something curious. At least it's something that makes you wonder how we are getting so far on the first place. How, even if it is something so incredibly green, it gets to be always constantly evolving, while on the other hand still being as reassuring that, yeah, uh, actually, for many other far more creative ideas, it's not a good tool so far. It cannot really do uh, the show of what an AI can do in order of what an AI should be capable of doing in our imagination, so to speak. It's not as good as that. It's partially good, but it's not so good that it unavoidably beats any expectation. It has still a lot of observable. So, what's the expression on English? It's something along the lines of open stages or something like that, in which basically you realize just by seeing it that yeah, it is still green. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it's bad. I am not saying it in a way to get angry about it or to disparage at that. It's just yeah, it happens like that, and it's quite a wonderful realization that it happens like that. And even more, I think it's funny to see it being that way because, in essence, AI is not so influential in not that it doesn't get to have so much a place in our life. It doesn't get to play a crucial role in the most important aspects of life. I don't think. Yeah, I think unavoidably at this point in time have already been people who silently probably decided to believe AI in terms of what is the purpose of existence, for example. But I don't think that the general has that inclination of believing that if you ask an AI what the purpose of life is, it is going to give you an accurate and worth following answer on, yeah, or a convincing enough argument, so to speak. It's not going to be like that. It's rather just an empty, simple explanation that stays in the most basic level, sadly, and it's not such a crucial, or it's not still influencing us in the most crucial of aspects. I unavoidably, yeah, counter argument. I have to accept, yeah, maybe it is still playing a huge role in many other places. Like, for example, you, anybody rather, who tries to think about it can realize that indeed stuff like that, like those sorts of AI, are starting to already have a sort of influence, already a sort of weight in our life in a manner in which it gets to have a weight and it gets to be important to notice that, yeah, AI, even if what I mentioned before, even if in the most important things, or even if in the thing that I can directly realize it is not influencing, in everything else it is, okay, maybe not in what I want the most, it is having an effect, but una, unavoidably other people around me who are at the end of the day influence my decisions, it is already having an effect. And it is already changing stuff there, and it is already making stuff be different there in that field. That's where it's changing things, and that's where it's having an influence, and it's having a weight, and it's becoming more important than what I can actually name. Or not name, because I don't have the possibility of naming it at all. I can actually point out and accurately describe. That's what I don't think happens so much and is such a common thing seen. But I don't know. I don't feel like AI in itself is, once again, is something that we should be so angry about. I guess unavoidably, if anything, AI is something that deserves a lot more awareness, I guess, in terms of, yeah, it's still incredibly green. It's not as useful as we can say. It might as well be a lot more negative than what we can actually recognize right now, because it seems to solve way too many issues for us. without us realizing that it might not be doing it in the proper way. The same thing of, okay, it gets to results but not through the proper methods. Okay, same thing happens here. It might not be getting to results in a way in which we want it to get to them, or in a way in which it is going to benefit our whole process. After all, the results that I don't remember exactly. I know by saying that I remember that there is some stuff that you can get from that. Like, let me try to think about it. It's, I think, from some intersecting fields. Like, for example, it's a different example, but for a clinician, it might be a good thing, or not a good thing, an acceptable thing to see a person with yellow teeth, while on the other hand, for a dentist, particularly, it might be one of the worst things to observe. For different judgments, it is not the same conclusion, even if the object itself is the same thing. It's not the same conclusion. Or, for example, I don't know, you take a sociologist and you take a psychologist and you put them to try to analyze, to describe why somebody might be the way they are, and the one is going to give you all the outward explanations about the society, the influences that they had, their routines, their culture, their rituals, all of those things, while the other one is trying to point at how they act based on the outer world and how they are being affected by their memories and by their other interactions beforehand, and how their mood itself works for them, and how they decided that it was correct for them to be. Out of those things, that same stuff happening with AI, that same stuff happening with, okay, yeah, is AI actually bringing me something that I want, that I need, that I am going to benefit, that I am going to be happy by having? Or is it rather going to be something that I am going to be incredibly angry about if I ever try to think about it in any other way than it not being just, okay, yeah, I get to have access to internet and that's it. Maybe it's not as useful as we fiercely declare it to be. I think that's the issue. That's the one of the real, actual, or current issues. But even then, it deserves to be to some degree used. It's it has been so open since a while ago that sadly it has already integrated itself to such a degree that if you say, you know what, it's time to actually remove AI from internet, it might be dangerous to have. It might be a bad decision to take, you know? So instead, what we get to do, or what we get to gain, is we have it acting only for what we want, and we have it as a tool only where we know it is going to be fully useful. It is going to always be correct when it does something. But all of that, I guess, is back to the start of, we need to have a patience to develop things to that point. We need to be capable of making it be that good. And it's easy to say, can we actually do it? In most cases, am pretty sure it won't happen like that. I don't think most people are willing to dedicate so much of their own existence to making something like AI work to such a degree. I don't know. I think it's just something that in general we don't stop and look at so much. It's just one of those many other things that after they were introduced to the world, we 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 accepted. We never discussed. We never tried to argue about, or we never pointed at in terms of, yeah, this thing might be making me be different in any other way, you know? This thing might be changing how I act. This thing might be changing the decisions that I take. But that's I don't know. I think that in itself is a complicated discussion. It's not something that happens at all in general. Whenever I talk about yeah, we should try to properly recognize that indeed there are many instances of stuff of that sort happening, things of that type of quality being the norm, us having way too many other issues, and us having way too many other problems with other things plaguing our own existence. That's what happens. And if we recognize AI, we might be focusing on something that is not as important as everything else. I guess, I don't know. I think like I'm doing too much to show justifying a bad decision, but at least the human gets to be happy by knowing that because they didn't choose AI to be their one of the problems of the century, so to speak, we get to be happy at knowing that indeed we still have the chance to recognize and to talk about other stuff of even greater importance, like in itself, what I was saying before. What's the point itself of life? We can still try to talk about that. Not that we actually do. I mean, yeah, that's the reality of the thing. Not that we actually talk about many of the things that we should be capable of mentioning or we should be capable of directing our attention to. We can say that there are things that matter. Are we actually paying attention to them? Are we actually trying to solve them? I don't find it to be the case, I think. But give me a second. I don't know. I don't think it's really all that worth getting angry for. In a sense, it's there are things that just work better. And in this case, it's not the necessity to actually worry about the stuff or such. It's a rather this weird obsession with yeah, you know there are other things that we should be focusing on. Are we focusing on them, man? I don't think so. I don't think we are doing the job that we need to be doing. Actually, I can tell you that we should be doing some type of work. Are we actually doing it? As in, are we capable of working on it? No. But if I tell you that we can do something better, do something more, maybe I can act like that fulfills me a lot more than just me staying in a more basic level, in a more simpler degree of representation, so to speak. And I don't know. I guess unavoidably that's just how things work. I guess I don't know. It's just the endless drama of life that becomes so tiresome. It's you know I let me say it like this: we don't value as a AI as a thing worth worrying over. What do we actually value as a thing that needs to be universally talked? There is no universal. I think it's I don't know. It's that's the endless problem that I always try. In the end, the true issue is what do we actually care about as a humanity, as a whole united humanity? What do we actually care about? Existence in itself, not much more. We don't have any other particular point. Is it good to be violent? Is it good to be pacific? Is it good to be from this alignment? Is it good to be this or that? At we can't even come to a proper agreement on any of those other things. We can just say, okay, what matters is to be alive, supposedly. Oh, good job. Besides that, we have come nowhere near close to a proper explanation stuff of higher degrees. We don't have the tools to allow ourselves to properly point at and work in all of those other issues that seem to have higher degree of importance, that should be more important to us. We just have a handful of things that we worry about. We just have a handful of things that we say matter, but that's our personal handful. It's not the universal handful. We don't have, as a whole, things that move all of us together. I think, I don't know, it's. The only thing that I can say is I remember having read out this from a different subject of on the social sciences of, yeah, when you have a charismatic enough subject existing within any society, you have somebody who can convince enough all of its individuals to focus on any particular problem because they can make it look like the argument that they are creating is better than all the other ones already existing. Once you forego the possibility of having a charismatic enough leader, the divisions of interests start to happen to such a degree that the norm is to not have a shared common interest, but rather secular, divided amongst the group interests that appeal only to specific groups and not to the whole group itself or to the whole social circle or society itself, which is composed of all of those groups. That's a basic explanation. That's like an objective idea of, yeah, yeah. All of us are in this state because of that. Okay, yeah, easy enough to say that. That's like, oh yeah, I don't know. If there is no sun in the sky, it will unavoidably be either dark or barely lighted up if there is any kind of moon up, and unless there is no more a sun in the existence of the galaxy, of the solar system, unless that is what's happening, yeah, you will have a little bit of dark until the sun itself comes back around. That's a sort of nothing, sort of vapid, empty statement. Because what's the real point? We need a charismatic enough person once again. We need an issue. I don't know. I think, yeah, I have heard about it way too many times from different sources, either from books, either from different comics, mangas. That idea of we need an issue to unify humanity under, and to be capable of fighting all of us against this one problem. This whole idea of, okay, humanity was a lot more divided until they were forced to unite against this one thing that was threatening their existence. That whole thing happens. It's a common trope, yeah. Is it a common trope because it is the proper way? Is it a common trope because it is just the hope that we all of us have in terms of, okay, we should try, or if we have to force ourselves to have anything, at least we have the open way of, yeah, yeah, there are these issues that all of us can believe are worth taking on, and are, we believe, are worth trying to solve for the sake of humanity itself, supposedly, but it's, I don't know. I think, I guess if that were to be the case, the only proper argument that I can give as a counter will be something along the lines, and sadly, because we have become so much more pacifists, or yeah, we love so much more tranquility nowadays, there is no need for all of us to actually care so much about any issue, so it becomes the norm that none of us actually go towards anything to try and solve it so much. It's never the common thing to see that, yeah, we are putting so much of us in the line for the achievable of this thing, or for the sake of getting better at this thing. It's a superficial level awareness, it's a superficial level interest, as very tangential level of care about the stuff, because we have tranquilized ourselves enough to make it a common thing that nobody actually has to be all that worried about any one issue. I mean, that's I guess, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for saying it, but I think that's also part of the norm of why even mental illness as a thing itself is so common nowadays. It's such a good category to have to throw at somebody out of nowhere. Oh yeah, you're mentally ill. You're saying that we should be all of us worrying out global warming. You're mentally ill. You are going fucking crazy. Why would you say that? Do you have any kind of proper argument? Are you not trying to make me go as crazy as you actually are you truly having any kind of interest in any kind of thing that matters all that much, or are you just making a bigger deal out of something that doesn't really have any kind of weight in reality itself? And because of that, you might be putting not only you but also me at risk. Are you actually good, or are you only playing against me? Is this degree of hyper vigilancy that happens so much? Not be vigilant, or out of us being observed, but rather out of us being suspicious of other people. Yeah, yeah. You know what? You're mentally ill. You're saying something that doesn't benefit me. You're trying to actually attack me with what you're proposing. Your idea is not as good for me as you believe it is. So, what you're actually doing is manipulating me in a way in which I find myself to be losing what is my own essence if I try to follow you, your statement, your idea, your composition, your everything. So I would rather make you look like a worse subject by forcing you in a position of lesser power, once again by calling you any sort of incapable to function in a normal society human being, than to actually try to acknowledge or even worry myself with what you are talking about in itself, because your statement has no value if I can denounce you as a subject, as someone who is broken and who is not capable of making any statement worth listening at all. I guess that's a quick negative summary of psychology so far in the modern day, I guess. I don't know. I never even tried to think about it like that. I guess it's not so common to see. Yeah, I guess it's the improper way to talk about psychology, and probably somebody will get angry at me if a proper psychologist heard me. They will get incredibly fucking angry at me, saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're only pointing out what are proper worries about someone as something bad. You're making them look like we only are trying to harm them. No, the psychology itself has some good points and it tries to help people and blah blah blah. Yeah, okay, true. To some degree, it's true supposedly, because we can say that it seems to be a reasonable argument. Yeah, but in itself, it's not all that useful to completely denounce or renounce things based on all of these other qualities. So I guess in my case, I can say from a more personal perspective, yeah, psychology can be good. Is it actually always good? No, not really. I, I guess one of the many things that I have slowly tried to process has been this whole idea of, yeah, there are way too many people who would never go to a psychologist if they weren't being forced by others, if they weren't being directed unwillingly to go at a psychologist because of other reasons, because of other people. It's it's a good topic to talk about. If you are willing to talk about it, you are going to be obliged to hear things that are going to actually hurt your subjectivity without you even wanting that to happen. That's in no way something useful. You need to actually want to get better to some degree. That's like a fundamental idea. You need to wish to get better if you're trying to actually get better. Otherwise, you're unavoidably going to get hurt and you're unavoidably going to get incredibly damaged in the process. And that's not going to benefit you or not going to make you be in any other manner or way a nicer person because it's just going to harm you and it's only going to make you retreat even more than what you actually tend to retreat. I don't know, it can be good. Is it actually always good? I don't find it to be. I don't, yeah, I don't have the blessing of seeing psychology be the most useful practice all around the world. It is just one of the many more other projects of humanity that seem to minimally contribute something. Yeah, but is it actually a fundamental cornerstone of humans? No, not actually. You can have a completely fucking broken mind, and as long as your body functions, you're going to be fine. That's, I guess, a good enough statement if there is anyone to make out of psychology. And yeah, I don't know. The point itself was still, and things like psychology make the issue of trying to denounce anything even harder. It's, I don't know, I think it's unavoidably an era of way too much rationality. We have started to overvalue all of that, and finally, at least we can realize, recognize, and properly point at the stuff that might be an any kind of rationalization itself is not just worrisome but interesting to see, to look at, because it might not be the best or most useful thing, but it is something enough in and of itself that anyone else gets to worry about it, I guess. Otherwise, it is just an annoying thing to try to talk about. And I don't know, I think it's like that with way too many things, man. It's like with that case, there are way too many other aspects of humanity that we don't truly appreciate in a worthful manner or in a useful enough manner. And I think having to reevaluate so many other things at this point, I guess in history, is not such a possible thing to do. It's not like normally all of us are willing or interested in looking at and judging if what we are thinking is good or not, is actually good or not. We, it takes way too much energy, and I guess in that sense, yeah, I can at least concede at that point to this guy from the society of darkness, or the dull society, or the exhausted society, or the over burnout society, whatever the title you want to utilize. Byul Chung Hang, that guy. Um, that's those ideas are true. Sadly, yeah, having such a lack of energy makes it so that any other discussion of this sort is hard to have, because in itself it takes an energy that by default the person does not possess to try and talk about anything in 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 actuality. So yeah, I don't know. I don't I don't feel angry. I just think it's curious. It's weird enough. It's something to be curious about, and I'm happy about it personally. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't know. I'm trying to think about any other thing that I should be trying to talk about today. I think I'm happy with all of that. I guess I don't have any other idea to bring up so far. I can say that I am content with this for today. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Um, I guess I should probably try to stream on phone. I think I also maybe I'm trying to avoid it to some degree because it seems to be that okay, I bought a new phone. I bought a new phone that seems to work. The issue is in itself the phone does not fully work to the maximum of its capacity. It seems to be one of those phones that says it has good capacities, but actually is software locked, or through software it has its hardware locked in any way to not make it fully function the way it should. So if I don't utilize my phone for things like streaming, it is because I don't want to fully have to confirm my theory of yeah, that thing that costed so fucking much might not be as good as it costed because it was unavoidably altered in a way in which it affects me negatively. So yeah, anyway, that's the first thing to say. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to actually try. I can say I can probably try. I don't think I will try. I don't think there is anything worth streaming on phone. Being honest, being actually honest, I don't think there is anything worth streaming. I think in the whole phone scene, the nothing is worth trying. I think personally, I can justify doing it, but I don't think it's something worth watching at all. It's incredibly boring. It's incredibly sloppy. It's incredibly repetitive. Even if it is original enough. I have played some things that were original enough, but even then, it's easier to fucking rage quit because it is filled to the brim with ads than to actually try to give it a full try. You know, it's a weird market. Phones, phone applications and whatnot are weird as hell. I guess one of the only few things that I would try if I was crazy enough, I guess, is I always used an application to read manga. I will try out something like that probably because more than anything else, it will be funny to actually try and see how it goes and see. Most surely, you try to read a manga in a place like this, like Twitch, I'm pretty sure you get almost instantly banned. So yeah, I wouldn't say, I am not saying that it's a good thing to do because it's going to give good results. It's a good thing to try, just to confirm that yeah, that is a fully sanctioned thing to not do it at all, actually. But yeah, I don't know. That's one of the only few things I will do, I guess. Besides that, it will be just the same thing. Besides that, I would use it for any other thing that I can also do already here, or not do, because I guess I don't know. One of yeah, the only actual way in which I can see myself using the phone is if I can find a manner in which I can capture the PC through the phone or something like that, so that I can stream through the phone, capturing the PC without having as much lag as I do right now here. But I'm pretty sure that's not possible. That's not how things work. So that wouldn't make any sense, and that wouldn't get me anywhere. But I don't know. Maybe I should try to look into it. I am pretty sure, at least the way in which I can try to ask about it, Google and such, it won't give me any proper results. So it's not the avenue to have the most trust in. Anyway, completely. Anyways, that's it. I guess I I don't have much more to add today. I am happy already. I tagged for way too long. I tagged for more than what I was ever expecting to do. I guess yeah, I am happy. I want to go to sleep. Not even if I, as always, I say that I am going to sleep, not actually meaning that I am going to sleep. I not intending to lie, but unavoidably lying in that sense. But yeah, it's better to retire early than to stay, to overstay your welcome, as they will say, you know. So yeah, thanks for everything. It has been a wonderful day. Have a nice night. Have a nice day. Have a nice life. Take care. Take a rest. Take hydration. Do your stuff. Do your things. Be happy. Dream about the stuff. Have goals and whatnot. And yeah, we will see each other in the next time. When? I don't know. Probably tomorrow, taking into consideration that this week I don't have exams or anything like that. So, yeah, probably tomorrow. If not, we are going to stay tuned, I guess. Good night. Oyasumi. Boom, boom.